Unscripted, unshackled, uncouth.
What you're about to hear is for more mature audiences only.
It's Miguel and Holly, Uncensored.
Hello and welcome to Miguel and Holly Uncensored. This is our Uncensored podcast that we do on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You can listen to it on the iHeartRadio app or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Please give us a 5-star rating. If not, F off.
Okay, we're doing that today. Okay,
yeah, we are.
Setting the tone.
Got it. Also, we have our other podcasts that you can listen to. Miguel and Holly Full Show Podcast, Miguel and Holly Queen City Confessions, Miguel and Holly's Blown Off. So if you're about to travel, you can download them wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, we are on our way to 500 reviews on Apple Podcasts. That really helps us out. The latest one we got from Ashley Marie 0307 on Monday. I'm a listener from Tampa, and I absolutely love Miguel and Holly and Kelvin. They're so relatable and down to earth. I listened to this podcast when I was on maternity leave, and they got me through all the changes and challenges of becoming a new mom. I look forward to listening to them every day.
I feel that.
Love.
I feel that.
Thank you, Ashley Marie, and congratulations.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about, I feel like today's going to be a political podcast. We're going to get to that.
Yeah. Here we are.
Okay. Not partisan, I think.
No, I don't think like,
this is.
I don't think controversial politics.
No.
General politics, like the state of politics in this nation.
Right. But before that, let's talk about friends and food.
Let's do something better.
Let's do something much better that you probably want to talk about. Let's welcome Heather from DishCourse to the podcast.
Woo, yay!
Hi, Heather.
Hi,
All right.
how are you?
Wonderful. Now, Heather, tell us if someone is like DishCourse, what is that?
Well, at face value, it's dinner parties and brunches with strangers. That's what we do. But I think I've learned a lot more. And now that you've prefaced it with politics, so now I feel like I'm like a pre-palate cleanser. So more touchy-feely good feelings, everybody.
Yes.
We love to see it. But I feel like what I've learned through the experiences that we've been putting on is that it's really more about community building. We're really like penetrating. That's a weird word, isn't it? Penetrating like
We weren't going to say anything, but we thought it.
No, if we were on the air, I would just be like, oh, okay, penetrating. On the podcast, I'm like, oh, when you say penetrating, are y'all penetrating at DishCourse? I mean, what exactly are y'all penetrating?
We didn't have to go into that far.
Sign up for that one.
Hey.
That's what she said. Okay.
Sorry.
Don't worry, it's not that kind of dinner party.
I love it. So, because we have a lot of what we call them our Platypus Posse members who listen to the podcast and watch. So they're kind of all over. And so a lot of people that haven't been to Charlotte before don't realize that there are so many new people here in Charlotte, and it's such a transient city. It's a very new city with lots of people. I think there's a stat 120 people move here daily. So is that what inspired you to start DishCourse?
Yes, I was one of those little plebeians myself. One of the little 120, except it was in 2018. And I moved here for a boy, and that did not work out. Pretty much instantly. Usually in these interviews, I usually just say I moved here and I didn't know anyone, but since we're such good friends, I moved across the country from Wisconsin for someone. That relationship did not pan out. I was like living in my car. I was like, oh my gosh, like I was definitely at probably my lowest low in adulthood. And I was like, what do I do? So honestly, I was like, I can give up and move home to Wisconsin and, kind of call it quits, or I can stay here and make this place my home. And I decided to do that version. And I'm so glad that I did. But what I learned is that as an adult, and when you're feeling so vulnerable, it is really hard to connect with people, especially people who are like going through something like that. And I just couldn't believe that something didn't exist that really removed burden of labor from a guest and also puts them in a scenario where it's a lot more intimate. You know each other's names. It's not like a meetup group where you walk in and there's like 100 people and you just feel like immediately closed off. So we're in the business of helping people open up and helping them genuinely connect. Like last night is my favorite kind of dinner party. It was our starting over, and there were people fresh off breakups. We had some tears at the table, and it's not the first time. It shall not be the last, but it's just really cool to see people, you know, putting themselves out there and being like, I'm going to harness this energy that could be seen as a negative and put it towards connecting and meeting some new people. So yeah.
Wow.
And how do you avoid doing the whole like walking into a big group and being like, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe why am I here? Like, how do you avoid? So how did you make it that way?
Yes, it's all by design. So we only host between 4 and 8 people at our tables. No more, no less. It'll always be like that, no matter how big we get. And I mean, our goals are obviously this. It's a problem in Charlotte. It's a problem in every major metropolitan. So like eventually that's our goal, is to take over the world, of course. But
Yes.
a lot of time, baby. But yeah, it really is about keeping it small and not getting too excited by growth and being like, no, I'm preserving this experience because that's what we're promising people.
I love too that before the penetration comment, penetration, you said that you were like, it's not just about like this, it's about community. And I truly feel like we have a massive issue in society right now with a lack of community, which you wouldn't think. I mean, obviously, Charlotte is a booming, growing city. You've got all these booming, growing cities all across the country, but like everyone feels isolated and alone. So, yes, there's 120 or whatever many people moving to Charlotte daily. And I feel like a ton of them feel like, I don't have a crew, I don't have a group of people. Even the people that have been here for their whole lives may feel like, well, okay, I have my 3 people that I went to high school with, but how do you bust out of that if those people are no longer aligning with your values and your thoughts and beliefs? It's like very isolating. So this is a great way to build community.
Yes. And like you're pulling the words right out of my mouth. Like I think something that's so common too, and that's why the starting over dinner party has been so impactful, is because how many times in life have you felt like that? Like that you're starting that new chapter, whether it's like the person who submitted the review saying they just had a baby, like that's scary to face alone. Like you got to find your peeps and like, you know, your tribe. And like, it's so hard when life changes so frequently. So you almost have to continue investing in building your community so that it resonates with your current place in life.
So take us to like the very first one you did, like when you're like, all right, I have an idea, let's get this off the ground. How did it start?
So it's been in the back of my mind since I moved to Charlotte, but I was too busy being really bad at other businesses that I tried to do. It just kind of got put on the back burner for a few years. But I love all my failures. I embrace them fully. And now I know how to make candles. So that's what's funny. I know how to make lamps. I know how to make candles. I know how to make soap. It's fun. It's real hoot. But it came to fruition after my most recent failure. And I was thinking last summer about why haven't I done this yet? And also why doesn't it exist? So I started building it, and the brand name came to my head right away. It was just me and my husband, who's my BFF. We were sitting in my office in this very room. Welcome. And we were trying to think of what to call this thing. And we're like, he's like, what about something with discourse, like the conversation element? And I was like, DishCourse. And it just happened. And everything felt so naturally as we're building. But I took 6 months because I wanted to flush out exactly what it needed to look like. I wanted the experience to be very curated and personalized. And when you walk in, you get all the warm and fuzzy. So you're not worried about, you know, I'm about to sit at a table of strangers. Like that's weird. You're just focused on, wow, that table's cute. I see my name. That's me. I'm going to go sit there. So I spent a lot of time making sure that it was perfect. Then we launched January 10th. At first, I was bribing friends to come to the table. I was giving away free tickets, and I just wanted to hear all this feedback. And then, I mean, it didn't take long before people were just intrigued by it, and it kind of blew up a little bit. And now we're hosting. In the busy season, we host about 5 tables, 6 tables a week. Sometimes it's multiples, but yeah, it's fun.
always booked and busy.
Absolutely.
I have a question. I know that you obviously host some of the tables. I know that you just hired a few new hosts. How involved are you? Like, are you kind of like the proud mom where you're watching everybody just interact, or have you also made friends with these dinners that you have been hosting?
Yes and yes. I'm a proud mom, but I'm also a helicopter mom. So I have actually only been absent. So we just got some new numbers. So 200 guests we've hosted, and I think like 43 tables after last night. And I have been at every single one except for one.
That's
And-
awesome.
yeah. And I feel like it's going to be like that for a while until it gets unsustainable. But I love being part of the experience because I believe in it so much. And I feel like I'm always going to be like that. And I have really made some great friends from this. Like last night was so much fun. And I already can't wait to see all these people again. And we get to see them tomorrow. We're hosting the first annual DishCourse family reunion, where anyone who has attended an event gets to come, and we'll host it. We'll give them some free booze and drinks and food and all that. But I am absolutely going to sob. I can already see it. I can already see me like trying to give a toast. I'm like, these are all my babies. Because you know, like
That is so, I love that we as millennials, Gen Z, are finding ways to break through the technology barrier that has been put on us, that has become a crutch. And
Yeah.
that so many of us live such a lonely life where you sit and you just scroll and you scroll, and it does bring you down because you're like, everyone's traveling, everyone's having so much fun. And especially when you move to a new city, as Kelvin and I have experienced. Holly splits her time between here and Tampa. But we, moving here and just being like, I literally do not know a soul except for the people that work in my building, and everyone's a little older and, have families and stuff. We still want to do things. And so it's so cool that you are like, I'm going to do something with it, but not just make it an app, but like actually do it where you're in person meeting people.
Yeah, I just so very much agree. And I think since COVID and because of the digital age that we are living in, we've kind of forgotten how to be people and like how meaningful those connections are. Because I tell you, after every event, and they're all themed. So the starting over is just one of the models that we do. There's also like new in town. There's age-centric ones. There's wine and reality TV. Like it's all over the place. But yeah, every time I leave the table, I have this just really fulfilled feeling, and I feel like the guests feel that too. It's almost like a relief that you're like, oh my gosh, like I really got that FaceTime that I'm not used to getting, because we're stuck behind our little devices so much of our life that it really is about that in-person touch. And what's funny, I never see a phone at those events. I never see one. The only one is me taking my Instagram videos, but no one is even looking at their technology. And it's like a good 2.5 hours of just pure people time, which we just need so desperately these days.
So much so. Yes.
Congratulations. And I hope that you blow up. And
yes,
because I feel like I've watched so many movies or documentaries recently about the tech industry, and it really does make me look at it differently when like a new app pops up, because I'm like, let's be honest, it's a bunch of white men out west who create this technology that changes our lives, and then they become billionaires, and then our lives get more screwed. And so to see a woman say, no, we're going to do this in person, I hope you become the next billionaire, and this just takes fire, and then you end up all over the place, because this is what we need, not another damn app. So congratulations, Heather.
yes.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
For all of our Charlotte Platypus Posse members, how can they find DishCourse if they're like, oh my gosh, either I need to do this, or I know somebody, a coworker that just moved here, and I want to help them meet new people?
Yes. So you can check us out on our website. We are dish-course.com. I got to say it slow. I've seen so many people trip over that, including me. We are at DishCourse_CLT. And if you're in the Tampa area, first of all, I love Tampa. I would love to like split time between there. I would love to expand. So keep an eye out, people. We're going to grow.
Got it. Got it.
Mhm.
Listen,
love
our
that.
Tam people, they'll reach out and be like, "Girl, come on, I'll be your affiliate. Let me help you out down here."
I know. People already in the comments being like, can we get this in Tampa? Yes.
That's so
Darn, I
awesome.
just have to go to the beach and host dinner parties. Darn.
Right.
How
Yes.
bad is that? Oh my God. Heather, thank you so much. We appreciate it and have a great weekend.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I love that. That just
know.
makes me so happy that it's just not another app. Just not another app.
No.
Like
And-
something that's tangible.
And by the way, like I get social anxiety sometimes where I'm like, ugh, like if we have plan, like this is how ridiculous it is, and I am. But like we'll have to, for example, so we were thrown like an engagement party, right? And we had that on the calendar as something to look forward to. Obviously, I was dreading it. Like I was starting to get like stressed out about it. I'm like, this is more people than we're used to hanging out with on a normal basis. Like, what am I gonna say? Like, is it gonna be awkwardness? Like, are these people gonna know those people? Like, how do I? And I was like panicky about it because typically we just sit at the damn house. We go out and like my anxiety is at all time high, and then we get there and it is of course a delight,
Yeah.
right? It is a smashing good time. We make it even later than it was supposed to be. Now we're like having drinks and we're doing karaoke at the house, and it was a blast. And then after the fact, my fiance, my person, was like, that was the most fun that I've had in literal months and months. And I'm like, you forget about how much you need a group of people to go out with and have fun with. I mean, not everybody forgets that, but some of us do.
Yeah. I mean, when it gets out of your repertoire, you forget. I mean, I feel like the first, few months that Abe and I were here in Charlotte before we sort of met a friend group, it was kind of like that, where we're like, oh, well, we just got used to just, and then like we were meeting people, but it was like still kind of weird because we're kind of like that still kind of afterthought of like, oh, Miguel and Abe, let's invite them to this thing, And like now we have friends that's like, hey, bitch, it's Wednesday. What are you doing this weekend?
Right.
And then all of us
The
are meeting
it
up
girls.
somewhere. Yeah. And you're like, all right, girl, let's go. And by the way, with that being said, and I'm going to talk about more of this next week, but I had someone very close to me pass away yesterday.
It was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
This has not even been time to process, Miguel. I mean,
so yeah, I'm still just like sort of in shock, and I'll talk about it more next week. But on sort of the new friends, you know how you have like those moments in like the beginning of friendships where you're like, like this is it. Like for Holly and I remember, and I've told the story before, how when I was unpacking in your house the second time I met you, and and I was like, hey, nice to meet you second time. Here's all my shit. Let's move your shit out of the way.
Bye, shit. Bye.
And I was like, ooh, here are my yearbooks, because I wasn't that far removed from high school, and I worked on my senior year yearbook.
No, you weren't.
And you were the first person that was like, oh, let me see it. And I was like, you really? I don't have to like force you to look at my yearbook. Like, you actually want to see it?
I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to know all the things.
And that's how I was like, okay, we're going to be friends. We're going to be friends. This is it. This is good. Well, one of my friends here in Charlotte last night, he invited me out for someone's birthday. And I was like, girl, it's a Thursday night. I'm not going. But I was like, I just got some news. And they were like, totally like flipped. They were like, do you want me to come sit with you for a little bit? Like, do you need anything? And I'm like, literally, that was so sweet. Like, just offering.
I was hoping that, somebody that you had mentioned it to might have wanted to pop by or something.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know how deep we are in yet with the Charlotte crew.
Yeah. So, and because like, me, I'm never going to like reach out and just be like, hey, come sit with me. What's going on? I'm sad. And I was just like, I told him this is what's going on. And then he was like, I can come sit with you for a little bit, or if whatever you want me to bring you some, what do you need? So shout out to my friend Leighton. That was him who did that. And that was really sweet.
Love
so
that little nugget.
Right. So I was just like, all right, girl, you it, honey. You it.
We already knew he was it. It was fine.
He's your top all-star of the week.
Come on. Wait, hold on. Where's my drag race music? I have some somewhere. So now we have to go to the this is actually not with what we were talking about, but the only RuPaul.
the shade
That's the
button.
shade music.
Yeah.
So the thing that everybody was talking about in politics yesterday,
Mhm, mhm.
I'm going to pull up the video. So if you're listening to this, I apologize. Mitch McConnell just
I felt bad.
100%. Like, that's why I haven't posted any memes or anything, because people have been posting some funny stuff about it. And I'm like, I know I shouldn't feel bad because so many things that Mitch McConnell has brought
Sure.
are horrible for me as a black man,
Right.
as a gay man.
Right. But as a human,
Right.
watching another human have a medical emergency, like I don't care who it is. If I'm seeing this, and this is an elderly man, I'm immediately like, someone help.
Right.
Like,
There's a hot take on that. Like, he has caused and done so many awful things that people are like, no, fuck you.
Right.
Like, I
And
actually
I
don't
get
care.
it.
I think you
get
should
it.
suffer a little bit. And I'm not gonna say I agree or disagree, but I was like, oh wow. And then like it was a tweet. And then under the tweet, there was all the things that he did wrong. And I was like, got it.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm
not going to tell anybody how to feel. Like,
Yeah,
if you want
right.
to feel that way, it's your
Yeah,
feel. But I just, in that moment, it just felt like, oh my God, something is happening.
Not good.
All right,
Yeah.
I think
Somebody
this is...
Somebody help somebody out.
All right, hold on. I think here's the video. Sorry, I didn't have this pulled up. Share audio. Mitch McConnell freezes up. Here we go. Just in case you missed it yesterday. Obviously, for those of you that are watching, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you cannot hear it.
Now, here's that moment when he freezes up.
And cooperation and a string of
It happened during his weekly press conference. The 81-year-old Republican leader stood silent for more than 20 seconds before he was led away. McConnell's aide says that he felt lightheaded, and just a few minutes later, he was back on the podium. He told reporters he was, quote, fine. McConnell does have a history of medical problems, mainly falls, as CNN reports earlier this.
So anyway, so that
He's
was...
fine. He's not fine.
No,
okay?
he's not fine. He's
Someone
not fine.
Old as
tell
hell.
Granddad he's not fine.
Right.
Like, and I get it, because I had a mom who was not well, but like didn't know she was not well. So
Mhm.
like, where's his family and someone to be like, Granddad or whoever,
Right.
we're concerned about you. Like, stop it.
Well, and that's why, like, so two separate issues, and we'll talk about like term limits and like why this generation is holding on to power. But that's why I get so conflicted about these sort of things, because like I, as a human,
Right.
just looking at an elderly 81-year-old man, you're like, he's clearly having a senior moment. But then I'm like, bitch, you have done so many horrible things that have destroyed, and that people have probably, if I were to dig and get the facts and all that stuff, like have killed themselves over, all in the name of politics. The
Mhm.
things that you have done. So why should I feel sorry for you for this moment in time when you've done so many things that you probably have never lost sleep over, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's why I always have a hard time. That's why like someone shared like him sort of freezing up like that over a picture of Cookout. It's the place here that's like a fast food place that's really popular in North Carolina and Georgia.
Like a burger place.
And they were like, the look you make at 2 a.m. when you're drunk and you're trying to remember your Cookout order, and him being like,
Lord.
I saw like 10 people share it this morning, and I was like, oh my God.
Listen, the one that got me was when the edible hits. It's not okay. And it's not okay. It's not okay.
Not
Funny.
but oh my goodness.
So that's why I have a really hard time like trying to because he's done so many bad things
Yeah.
and has just not felt bad about it. Or if he didn't, he just, kept going.
I like the
Yeah.
thing that Holly says all the time, which is two things can be true at once. You can feel bad that he had a little mini stroke right then and there, and also acknowledge that, like, you know what, you old ass bitch, like, you shouldn't be working at 81.
Right.
And also, let's reflect on all the bad things you did.
Right.
Yeah.
You can do
And then
both.
Miguel,
You
that
can
was
do both.
originally, I think, Miguel's. Like, you can
Yeah.
have two feelings at once. You
Yeah.
can have two feelings at once. That
Yeah.
is on the individual to process both of those feelings, honestly. Because like, you have to really reconcile your own humanity. Like, I don't think it's great for any of us as humans to be like, you know what, man? Yeah, like, fuck you. You deserve to die. Like, in
Right.
front of all of us. You just deserve to die. Like, fuck you. I don't know that that's great for anyone's humanity,
Mm-hmm.
but I also don't think, like, you feel how you feel.
Right.
I think it bears a second thought about it, though.
Right.
Like, if you're feeling like that much, anger and vitriol, a lot of it deserved, like, a lot of that is absolutely, what is the word I'm looking for? Like, it makes sense that you would feel that way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then you are wrapped up in this rage. It's worth taking a second look once, like, sort of the wave of rage passes, to be like, I wasn't in my best human moment right then. And maybe process some feelings and whatnot, because I don't think it serves the greater human good and our highest level of being that we are capable of being. And that's kind of, I guess, on my spiritual side. Like, it doesn't really serve us in our greatest spiritual good to feed those feelings. Feel them.
Right.
But are you nurturing those feelings, or are you allowing yourself to feel them, thinking about it, and then maybe thinking a little deeper as to where that comes from, doing some own reflection and whatnot, and trying to let go of some of those feelings, because I don't necessarily think those ones are healthy ones to hang on to.
There's another side that we'll get to about Mitch McConnell and about term limits.
I have some thoughts on that.
So with that being said, we just saw Mitch McConnell, 81 years old, have that very senior moment. Here's another one that everyone's talking about. This is Senator Dianne Feinstein from California, who
Yes.
wasn't able to do her job for several months, and appointments were being held up because of the position she holds on one of the Senate committees. They couldn't confirm anyone because she wasn't there because she's fucking old.
Yes.
And here's her.
Is she 90 or 91?
I think they say it in this clip right here. But
Okay.
here's her literally, like, God rest. She's done so much for the LGBTQ community, has been an outspoken advocate, before it was something that was agreed upon by the majority of our society. She's done so much, but at some point you got to say it's time to pass the baton. So here's a moment where they're basically Weekend at Bernie's having to help her out.
Senator Dianne Feinstein appeared confused during a Senate Appropriations Committee meeting. That moment happened during a key markup meeting for a budget bill.
The clerk will call the roll.
Senator Feinstein.
Say aye.
Pardon me?
Aye.
Yeah.
Just say
I would like to support a yes vote on this. It provides $823 billion. That's an increase of $26 billion for the Department of Defense. And it funds priorities submitted.
yeah, just say aye.
So for those of you that are listening right now, like, they finally got her on her face, and you can see one of her aides whispering in her ear to just say aye.
We're just taking roll right now.
That's it.
Okay, just
Great.
aye.
Thank you.
Senator Durbin, Senator Reed.
Aye.
NBC's Julie Sirkin is on Capitol Hill for us. Julie, put that into some context for us. And as most people who are watching this know, there have been some questions previously about Dianne Feinstein's illnesses that kept her out of the Senate for some time.
Yeah, and we're talking about this generation of aging lawmakers with Senator Mitch McConnell's moment yesterday. Now, Senator Dianne Feinstein, who's 89 years old, who was as
I want to get her age. So
89.
Yeah. Like, there's something that I've been seeing a lot on Twitter of like, why is this generation, and this is the silent generation, not even boomers.
No, yeah, this is
the silent generation. Why are they so afraid to like go home and like sit and relax? And now this is Dianne Feinstein, a Democrat, Mitch McConnell, a Republican, Joe Biden, Democrat, Donald Trump, a Republican.
Everybody get the smoke.
Go home.
Yeah.
You worked hard. Sit down.
Yeah. And I have thoughts on this.
Or Donald Trump go to jail. Sorry. I had to sneak it in.
Throw it in.
Yeah, I hear you. So I have some thoughts on this. So I think it's a double-edged sword of personal and political stuff, for lack of a better word. So we're going to talk about, and I want to talk about the political hanging on to power second. But first, and I have like firsthand experience with this. That's where I'm coming from, because I had these thoughts while I was sitting in the bathroom this morning.
No.
You know what? It's like the question is, so like, there should be term limits, and those terms would be maybe like however many sessions you can serve, or maybe an age limit. But then you don't want to put an age limit because is that ageist? Ageism. Okay. So aside from those discussions, and Chrissy Craddock had a really great, she's like, in terms of, hey, can we have a mental health examination or whatever, for any of this? And it gets real tricky, when you get to like, you don't want to be ageist, but also you want to be in a full mental faculty for, the job that you're performing. I'm coming at this from a view of seeing when people are no longer needed, they die. And I'm not saying that as like, oh, like they just get sad and sit on the couch or whatever. No, I mean, like when you lose your purpose in life, death is real close at the heels. I mean, it's like knocking on the door. Right. And a lot of people are afraid of death. I happen to think, and this is just a personal belief, obviously. So you get to a certain age and maybe let's say like you retire or whatever, you better have something else that's going to give you purpose in that life. And so many, I think, of that silent generation, they tied their worth and their personhood, their reason for being to what can I contribute to society? What can I contribute to my job? Because if I don't have a job, I'm not contributing and whatever. They've tied that all into like who they are as a human being. They don't know what other benefit they bring to society. They don't know what other, purpose they might have as an individual if they're not doing their job. And especially when it comes to politicians, I think, because in our country, politicians are seen as like, okay, you're it. Like you have a very high position in society. You're needed. You have to sit here and do this job because the country needs you.
Right.
And so if they were, and again, this is the double-edged sword part. So we're going to talk about the power in just a moment. But as a personal sort of fulfillment plan, some of these elderly people are like, if I just step down, what do I do?
Right.
Who am I?
Right.
And they die.
No.
Like they just die. Because I saw that with my mom. It was like when she suddenly felt like she was not needed, not even like wanted, like wanting and needing are a couple of different things. When she felt like she was not needed, desperate, like someone did not need her anymore. It's like, the wheels started coming off. The train was coming off the tracks. It's like you can kind of hold it together, even if you're grasping at the threads. You can see like Dianne and Mitch, they're holding it together barely, but they're doing an okay job, weirdly, for people that are in their 80s and 90s in a high pressure job like this. which a lot of normal, I say, like everyday 80s and 90s folks would not be able to hold it together in such a way, but they're grasping to hold it together, and they're like sheer willpower to hold it together. And they're doing it because if they don't, they will die. And I think it's a subconscious, unconscious thing that hanging it up means death.
I agree. I've seen it happen firsthand when I was a sophomore in college. My newspaper advisor at the time, she was 31, 32, she was like the grown ass, 50-something-year-old in my mind at the time. And now I'm like, she was a baby. But she was married to a man in his 60s who was a newspaper editor. And this was in a small town in Coffee County, Douglas, Georgia. His family had owned the Douglas Enterprise forever, the newspaper there. And he was the publisher, editor of the paper for like 3 decades. Well, they got married when she was young because, he was the older silver fox and she was the young reporter who also taught journalism at the college.
Ooh,
so she married him when she was like 24, 25. And so then she sort of changed. So when I met her, she was wore the Halloween vest and the earrings with the
Which
pumpkins.
is probably why you thought she was 50.
That's why I thought she was old. And so then he retired. I think he sold the paper to one of the big national newspaper companies. He retired. And then one spring break, they got a divorce. And then she started to become a 30-something. And she started wearing leather jackets and she dressed her age. 3 months later, he died. Because his whole life was spent news, stories, running. People need me. I need to do something. I am the newsman of Coffee County, Douglas, Georgia. And all of a sudden, he was just an old man sitting on the couch. And he died a few months later.
Yes, absolutely. It's like the will, your sheer will you are going to push through.
And that's something that I realized, that was in college that I realized that was a thing. And so that's why when my uncle said to me when I graduated college, he gave me 2 pieces of advice: have a clean car, which I don't, and find a hobby. And I was like, why do you need I don't get it. But you need something else outside of your work.
Yeah.
And so that's why you have people like Joe Biden. That's why he ran for president in the first place after the whole Charlottesville thing, the white people and all the stuff that happened with the Nazis there. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I am the only person that can defeat Donald Trump. I am the only person. So I've got to come out of retirement and do this. And so now he's like, I'm the only person that can beat him again. And that's why Ruth Bader Ginsburg held on for so long, because she was like, if I retire, what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like, if these people early on would have just said, hey, let me pass the baton.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be in these precarious situations.
Yes.
And
it's a little bit of hero, you're the hero in the story. And for everyone, you are you're the main character in your own life, but you get to thinking that suddenly you're the only person that can do this. And that's not true.
Right. There are is it going to be difficult? Absolutely. But you're not the only person in 300 and something million people in this country that can beat them or do that job.
Right.
And it's just time. It's time for these 80-something-year-olds. And listen, here's the thing. When people say, well, is it ageism? I think to myself, well, there's a reason why you can't get your driver's license until 16 and sometimes 17. There's a reason why you can't drink until you're a certain age, because your brain is developing. Well, on the other side of that, your brain starts to decline as well, as you can see with Dianne Feinstein and Mitch McConnell. And so when you have all of this on your shoulders, there should be some sort of test like there is for when you're young to see if you are competent in driving or whatever. So many times when you're driving around, here in Charlotte or wherever you live, and you see the person that's probably in their 80s and they're driving 25 miles per hour in a 55.
I know.
They shouldn't be driving. That's dangerous.
They have that at the DMV. You have to come in after a while and redo it. And if you don't pass the vision test, then you have to do all this other stuff. And there's a ton of paperwork, but I don't think they do it as often. It's probably like once, God knows how long.
Yeah,
But yes.
I don't think they do. And I also, having been to multiple doctors trying to get a doctor to tell me or tell my mom, like, your brain's not working right. But it's like the testing for that is so vague and general. I don't know. There's a problem somewhere in the system. Like, it's gummed up. Like, physically, are they still capable, like, to walk to the Congress room and do the thing? Like, yes. But then you have to take, like, this whole long mental test, and, like, you have to be pretty severely whatever. Like, if you can remember, like, pencil, apple, person, da 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 da, and, like, you happen to do just well on that test, you're having like a good day. And this is a thing. I used to speak about this when I was going through it with my mom. It's like she could pull herself together for doctor's appointments. So are these, even if we did give like a mental capability test, are these people able to just like pull their shit together for those 2 hours and give great answers on that one test and then kind of fall apart the rest of the day? That's a real thing. It's like, I can't remember what it's called now anymore, but it's like a performance where they're like, I'm fine. And the doctors are like, the doctors who see them for 2 hours once a year are like, oh yeah, seems pretty good. Meanwhile, the people in the day-to-day are like, not good. So I don't know what the answer is, but there definitely needs to be something.
Here's the answer. We won as millennials and Gen Xers. We got to start running for these positions.
Yeah.
And then we as voters have to actually do the research, because a lot of times reason why people like Dianne Feinstein and Joe Biden and, anywhere you live, there's probably someone super, older in that position, is because we don't do the research. But we've seen their name since we were young. And you're just like, oh, I know that name. Click.
They know what they're doing.
I'll vote for them.
They're a grown up. They're more grown up than me.
Right. And so we haven't done our research. So it's up to us to run for these offices and to do the research and to vote for the best candidate for that position, or someone who, like with Obama, who, had no federal elected, I take that back. He was a senator.
Yeah.
But like at that level, like that, when it came to like foreign policy, he was still kind of new at that and didn't really know. But that's why he had Joe Biden as his vice president, who was experienced in it. And so that's why you surround yourself with people, who are able to help you guide your decisions and can give you the context. But we have to start taking responsibility, but then it'll be up to us and the people who we elect to set those term limits, because we obviously as people can't do it, but we have to elect people that have to say, hey, even though I'm voting on my future, I still think that like I should not be doing this. Like, and I'll even say this for the radio industry. We have a problem in holding on with people. Like, I do not want to be on a top 40 radio station when I'm 65 years old.
Amen.
Because
I know I will be irrelevant to that culture.
No, I will still be like, y'all heard Whitney Houston, I want to dance with somebody. And then Maya will be in her like mid-20s and be like, why is old ass Miguel talking to me on how can I relate to him? Like, put me on the millennial station so I can talk to people my age.
Yeah. That's who wants to hear me anyway.
That's another podcast.
That's another thing. That's another.
Let's just read some of these before we go.
Thoughts on the radio. And but we were going to talk about holding on to power. And I do think that's a thing too, by the way. I do think that people, and that's not, I severely do not think that is just a generational, silent generation boomer thing. That affects all of us.
100%.
And we have to know, like, it's not like us millennials are better in that category. Like, you're going to give a millennial who's a slight little bit devious some power, they're not going to let it go. Like, that is a human condition, where the people that are looking to have power are probably not the people that really want it. And that's the problem with government. It's like the people that really, truly are like grasping to get that power, probably not the people that should have it, to be honest, because they're not going to want to let it go. It's like the plot of every superhero movie with the villain. You know what I mean? Like, once you get that taste, it changes you, unless you have very, benign and for the greater good, I guess, intentions from the get-go, then you'd more likely be the person that wants to pass that baton along. But a lot of these people get that taste of power and they're like, they like the money, they like the fame, they like the lifestyle that they're living, they like the house that they're in, and they're like, I can't what am I going to do if I don't want to be poor again? I see those people. No thanks. They don't want to let go. And that's not generational. That's every single person that would be in danger of that. Get a little bit of power and you don't want to let it go.
Anne Marie said, I have more respect for a person in a position of leadership or anyone role, personal or public. It's as if they no longer feel relevant, which is so not true. I'm living in it, so I get it. RGB is a missed genuine genius. Jody talking about the senior test that they can give at the DMV once every 10 years, which is a lot of time in between.
A lot of time.
Chrissy said, I wonder if they're afraid to let the political creations of being a divided society that they all have created. They're afraid nothing will get done because they have pushed ride the party line so much. It's like a caged animal training. Once released, you go. Ruh-roh. Teresa, agreed. Or they've been doing a decent job for 60 years, so keep them. Come on, get those younger people in there. But there has to be an interest first.
Correct. Yeah.
It's time. It's time, y'all. And it's time to go.
Yeah.
Bye.
Calvin, are you okay? You've been suffering over there the past 45 minutes.
I'm actually so sleepy, and I don't know why.
Look at your eyes. Are you sleeping right now?
Yeah. Yes. Actually, this is my
Look,
AI.
You look like you're sleeping right now.
I don't know why. It looks like I took an edible. I'm so sleepy.
Why are you so sleepy, girl? Wake up. Wake your ass up. Come on, pussy
Go
killer.
and take a nap when you get home. And do not, if you
I
can't,
can't.
no.
I'm going to a car dealership.
Oh, that's going to be
Thanks,
bad.
Oscar.
Oh,
you're gonna Friday.
You're gonna fall asleep there,
girl.
Oh God, I have to go to my bank today. Why did I make it on a Friday?
Why you gotta go to a bank?
I gotta close my mom's accounts and tell them why I moved a bunch of my money into this, new financial situation I have with my fiance.
Right.
And banks don't want to lose that money, so they're like, "Hey, what are you doing? Where you put that money? Can we get that money back?" And I'm like,
confrontation.
Producer Kelvin, what's all the information people can see you sleep?
At Kelvin Live, TikTok, X, and Instagram. It's
I will not be calling it X
No.
until I see more of it.
I was listening to a podcast where people were like, Elon Musk just makes these decisions not thinking about the consequences. Like, think about how many businesses have the little bird logo or Twitter
That's what I'm saying.
on
As their
all
signature.
of their marketing everywhere. And they're
Right.
just like, oh, we'll just change it. It's fine.
No big deal.
It's fine. We'll just change it to X.
I know for a fact that some of the radio station vehicles have like their little
Oh,
Twitter
yeah.
handle on the van.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid.
Holly, what is your social media?
Radio Holly on most of the things. Not
Oh.
Snapchat though, because it's nasty.
Oh, I still have Snapchat.
I'm on Snapchat too.
No one sends me anything. I actually just go on there because there's this one black girl on the subscriptions page that has great recipes that I follow. And that's literally the only reason why I go on there now. You can find me everywhere. Miguel Fuller, Instagram, TikTok, on Twitter, Be Real, and on Peloton. All right. We'll see y'all next week. Bye. Kelvin.
Bye. I gotta
You
go.
just yawned on camera.
Miguel and Holly Uncensored.
Catch it on the iHeart